seem to live in black.
I do. I think us designers, we're always in black.
Why?
We're lazy. Lazy people.
I mean, there you are. I noticed that about designers. Aside from just wearing black and other such, simple, basic colors. Basically just white or black. That designers do not wear the stuff they make. They make some people make the most outlandish looking or outrageous looking, creative things, but they don't wear them.
I think it's because we're surrounded by clothes all the time. It's we become so sort of bored with seeing all the colors and the fabrics and being involved with the manufacturing of it that you just want to remove yourself from it and being something simple. And black is always the best alternative.
Is it not that, you shouldn't be wearing those things anyway? You know better than to wear the things that you guys make and putting around anyway. Of course, these are beautiful clothes. Now, are they in particular for you? You are a clothier of beautiful women. I remember once you told me that I like to make women look beautiful.
Yeah.
You like beautiful, feminine, pretty clothes.
Yeah.
Why?
I think, I don't know, it's to do with the couture part of the business that I'm in. I always believe that if you're going to make an effort, you should make the best effort. And I always feel that life can be a bit mundane and that, sort of the daily grind of human existence on earth is at times it's just very taxing, that at times it's like in a form of escapism. The ladies just want to sort of feel pretty, for a moment or a day in their lives, and then they come to us and then we make them look fabulous.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, for you, I mean, where did it all start from? I know you went to school in Nigeria. Part of, education for you was in Nigeria.
Yeah.
How did it all start for you?
I think it started early when I used to sketch. Then I didn't even know what they were. I just noticed that I used to sketch all the time. And then later on I read, and it turned out to be like fashion illustrations that I was designing. And then I had a lot of encouragement from my mom. Because she's very fashionable too now. She's very fashionable.
I know, I met her.
Yes, at the show, the Samarita show,
yeah,
wasn't it?
She's gorgeous.
And very encouraging, and, so she's been always a source of inspiration for
so
me.
from pretty young, you used to, twaddle with, pencils and
Yes.
kind of, didn't they think that was weird?
No. I think my friends were quite sophisticated, so
so they didn't think it wasn't that bad, are they drawing women, and all that
I used to draw men too, not just ladies.
Really?
Yeah.
How young were you when you?
I think about 9 years old.
9?
Yes. Oh, yes, 9. That early. Yeah, if not earlier than that, but definitely by 9. That's when I became very conscious of it. So I remember that even by the time. Way into secondary school, I'd already made up my mind that that's what I wanted to
do. You were very close to your mom, were you?
Yeah, I still am.
Okay, I can tell that. Did you used to wear her clothes and her makeup? Did you?
Oh gosh, no.
you were not one of those boys, eh? No. Not that close.
No, not that close.
But then you didn't study fashion designing in the university. You knew that was what you wanted to do.
Yes,
Why didn't you study it? My parents insisted on mom that that you had to go to university. And that it's important because in the society that we are in Nigeria, you're looked upon more if you've been seen to have been through the university system. Right. And she came from a very educational background. Her father was a principal, and so education was always instilled in us. Right. And we all went through University of Lagos, me and my other brothers too. Right.
And she said it's important that you go to university because then you'll be quite grounded in what you want to do later on in life. Mm-hmm. And that if you wanted to do fashion design, you're going through the university system shouldn't be a deterrent. It should, it should be that you've been through the university system, and if you still want to do the design, that means it's definitely in you, and then you should do it.
Right.
But that if you go to the university system, it sort of makes you more mature, and your outlook on life is a bit more positive and grounded. So that's why we did it. Although sometimes I look back and I say, hey, wouldn't it have been quicker if I had graduated from secondary school and went to study fashion design? Because in England, you can do fashion design as a degree.
Right.
I don't know if they offer that here in Nigeria. But
maybe in Yaba College of Technology. I'm not sure in the universities they do.
Okay. So there you can do it as a degree. So it's like, hey, it's a degree like any other degree.
Right.
But I know, and I understand what you were saying.
Why then didn't you study in England, fashion designing at that stage? Why didn't you just go from secondary school to England? Because already you were born in England.
Yes.
And you had part of your education there. Why didn't you go back to England to do the fashion designing? Why did you go through the and you said all your brothers went through Unilag. Did they want you to be educated in Nigeria at that level? Yes,
they did. And I think it's also to do with the Nigerian factor that Nigerians then, and I don't know if it's still applicable, tend to look down on
people who are creative or people in the service industry as being people who are not very educated and they've taken the easy way out, they've become like a technician or something, you know. The kudos is not there to have been through a technical institution and still be rated as someone who's been through the university. I think it's changing now because you hear a lot of people. I mean, I've got friends like Dr. Roberts, who is a doctor, but, you know, he went on to be involved in the cake industry making. And he's made a huge success out of it. Right. And it's like, I think Nigeria should come of age. You know, all the accountants and lawyers and engineers a country cannot make. You need creative people. You need people who are technically inclined, because those are the people who would bring up the creativity of any industry. So it's important. I've always wanted to give a lecture about this.
Because you could see that you were going to begin a lecture already.
Yes, isn't it?
All right, so you went.
So I feel very strongly about that, though.
Yeah,
I think if Nigeria was a bit more advanced and sophisticated, then it wouldn't be necessary for you to always go to university, because you look at the university system, it's like everybody is there. People see it as a finishing school. University is there for people who really want to be in that discipline and then studied. A lot of people who go to the university system don't even become what they've trained for, which is a complete waste on the resources.
Which is why the university anyway are not, you know, doing as much as they can do, because they're just putting everybody in there just to throw them out again. Now, you finished from the University of Lagos studying history, if I remember correctly.
I did.
But did you go on to study fashion designing later on?
Oh, yes, I did. I went to study fashion design in Manchester, in England.
Right. So
immediately after I studied history.
What did you do with the degree?
I tucked it away and ran. I didn't even serve. My mom said I should serve. No, she first said I should do a master's, and I found that frightening. That, gosh, after 4 years, you mean what, to do another year? I said, what for? Is this for, you know, for you or for Nigeria? You know, I couldn't understand it. So I didn't even serve. I remember it was the month I finished that I ran.
So you owe Nigeria Youth Service still, do you?
Yeah, but they said after a certain age you don't have to do it, so I don't think I'm of the age.
You're very glad to find that bit out, you know.
Yes, but a lot of my friends who served, they went on to make lots of friends and contacts, and they knew more about Nigeria. I was meant to have served in Calabar, and I believe that if I had gone there, I might have got married to a Calabar girl.
Or something, you know. All right, so you went to Manchester and you went to study fashion designing, you know, so then what?
And then I after I graduated, I went to apprentice, because going through the institution, it's all theory, you know. It's very important to apprentice, and that's more like an industrial placement. It's more practical, so you're there, you actually work with the public, with people, with clients, with real people. Right. Because I mean, it's very important to do that. So I did that for 2 different designers, and then I set up on my own in '91.
How did you find, you know, the niche, you know, Adebakare Kusho? I know I can tell an Adebakare dress once I see.
Ah, yes, okay.
Oh, yes, I can tell them, but you know, it's a niche. Why didn't you do, you know, casuals, for example? Or,
okay, that I went into the glamour part of it. I think my inspiration has always been the couture designers, especially the ones in Paris like Karl Lagerfeld, Givenchy, Christian Lacroix, and they are all couture based, and that's the market that I'd seen, because they were my mentors in while I was studying, and so I saw that, you know, that when I graduated, that's the line that I wanted to follow. I mean, there are different branches in fashion. You could do ready to wear, you could do casual, you could do even children's wear, but to me, the glamour side of it has always been of interest, and that's
why in particular.
I think that's where true creativity actually shines. Creativity in casual wear, yes, it's there, but when you do it on a glamorous level, it's more international.
Because I'm trying to imagine how creative you can be with children wear, for example. Oh, that's a pretty little jumper.
Exactly, you know. But it's, you know, it's a children's dress, and, you know, it doesn't command a lot of fees. Right. But if you do the glamorous side, you know, then you can charge the earth.
Yeah, which you do actually, from what I hear.
Well, we try to be reasonable, but we have a lot of overheads. And couture is not a cheap method of making clothes. It's quite intensive, hand labor. You know, everything is done by
When did you make your first outfit? Do you remember your very first outfit?
I remember we did a collection at college, which we had to show, because when you graduated, you had to do a collection. Right. So I did that, but the first client I had was actually Nigerian, because it was I made her wedding dress when she was getting married, because she had escorted me to go and receive my award. When I was in college, I won an award for a bridal design in England.
Right.
And I went to receive the award, and she went with me. And when she was getting married, she said, could you design my wedding dress? And I said, I don't design wedding dresses, because then I just sold to shops. I did ready-to-wear. And she said, oh, but you received an award, definitely you can design wedding dresses. And I remember speaking to one of my art workers, and she said, yes, you can make the wedding dress, that I should do it, And I did that wedding dress, and ever since then, I've never looked back.
Really? Because your wedding dresses are very famous now.
They are. I'm actually in Nigeria. I've become more known for wedding dresses. But I do more than just wedding dresses. So, I do day wear, evening wear, and accessories. I do a perfume, and we do bags. So there's quite a lot more.
The whole gamut. Now, for you, I know that, everybody's been asking, are you in Nigeria? When are you coming to Nigeria? And all of that. You manufacture in England.
Yes.
Because of course when Remy Lagos comes, Remy Osholake, we would of course ask
talented
about,
Remy.
Talented Remy. The talented, we should actually say the talented Miss Remy. We should never say, Remy.
Remy, okay, yes.
Manufacturing in England, what is that like?
It's very expensive, because even a lot of my competitors produce elsewhere, like countries like India and Malaysia. To produce in England is expensive, because when I look at the margins of producing here, it's quite inexpensive. But then you get a certain quality. And with couture, if you're charging dresses £2,000, £5,000, that quality has to be there. I think it's something that they can easily develop here, but it would take time. Yeah. You'd have to have infrastructure in place. But for now, we produce in England, because also we tend to do a lot of one-to-one. So obviously, you'd have different fittings with the clients, and we can't be sending dresses down to Paris or Malaysia and then waiting for it to come back to do another fitting. So it works out quite ideal for us to manufacture in England. But we're also producing another label called Bakare Breeze, which we showed in Nigeria on Saturday. And that's
at the salon show.
At the salon show, yes, with Remy Lagos and Davida.
Yeah.
And that was it was very beautiful, an open house in, I think, plot 1054, beautiful guest house. And it was an open house, so people were invited. It was set up by Mrs. Ajayi of My Lifestyle Solutions. Yeah. And she invited, the clientele, her clientele, and it was very nice, very well organized, very civil.
But isn't the art of couture, one-on-one, making couture clothes, dying gradually? Because you find, I don't know enough about fashion, but you hear all these individual designers, talented, being gobbled up by the major
houses. Yes.
This person is under this person. I heard recently, even the Ghanaian
Oswald Boateng. Yes, he's been appointed to work at Givenchy.
Right. So
I think
how come
it's
you've
a
not
trend.
Are you going to survive being a Bakare?
We sort of. I had a few calls from a few fashion houses, and I had interviews with them. So we should wait and see. But I think.
Would you prefer? Is that more profitable on the long run?
Oh, it is, and it gives you much more a better international standing. And also the financial cushion, because it's important in business to have like a financial backing, and those bigger houses act as a financial backer to the designers, the creative directors that they employ. So it's very important, and I feel that it's also a trend. It's also a trend because a lot of the fashion, the bigger names, they were beginning to die out. And so they started getting in the new talent and, also designing for the market, which is a bit more younger. In the past, a lot of the clients of couture were ladies of a certain age. But now that market is expanded, and the creative directors now sort of design a lot for their own age bracket. And so that's becoming a slight change now. I think also it's reflected in sort of change in time, there are always different periods in time, and that you have to.
What do you think of the Nigerian woman and her dress sense?
I think Nigerians are very elegant. I've always said this. Very elegant. They're just on par with the Italians and the French. And I think that's why you now see an emergence of Nigerian designers, because there are lots of countries in the world, but you always hear of Paris and Italy. Why? Because they're very fashionable. And they then sort of sustain their designers, and the designers become known internationally. So it takes the culture of a country, of a people who dress well, to then have their own designers. And they then feed into those designers, and those designers become known internationally.
Do you therefore foresee that there might be a time when you have a crop of Nigerian designers who are internationally well known?
Oh yeah,
Italian
definitely.
Designers,
yes, because it happened with the American designers. They weren't known internationally, and then they all came together.
Calvin Klein,
but Bill Blass, Halston, Oscar de la Renta. They all came together in America, had a huge show. and then they went on to sell, in Paris and all over the world. So I think that will emerge soon in Nigeria. They'd come together, the designers, Nigerian designers, they'd come together and then show internationally. But I think it's important that it's not a question of just getting designers per se because, oh, you're in Nigeria, you're a designer. No, there has to be some form of scrutiny, like a board, to make sure that the designers who belong to this cartel, one, are creative, two, are able to deliver. And that they have the originality, because there are so many designers in the world, but designers must have their own style. You should be able to look at a designer's work and say, that's by, it's like when you see Remy Lagos.
I know Remy stuff.
You can tell. When you see the Olasego things, you can tell. It's very important to have a style.
Yeah.
If not, you could just be like a label that's sold, in a department store.
All right, you're going to come back, of course, later on to sit with Remy on this couch, because I've got to talk to Remy. But before you go quickly, is it true that, you guys jet set from Paris to New York, from New York to Majorca, is it true?
Well, because Remy is very, it's a lot of times I come to Nigeria, it's not often that you find someone that you're on the same wavelength with, and she's quite sophisticated and very much into her work. She's a real designer. She reminds me of Coco Chanel that I read a lot about, and she's so focused in what she's doing. And on that level, we're so, sort of like, we definitely sort of click.
Are you getting married? Because I read in the papers that you and Remy were getting married.
Yes, we're getting married in Monaco next year. I'm only joking.